She changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. The moon. Hello, Enchanted One. Welcome to Spirit Thermia Bone, your spiritual lifestyle channel. I'm Brenda Paradiso. Every week, we come together to cultivate our connection with the enchanted universe and coax spirit to throw us a bone. And you know that we do this in 3 ways. First, we create sacred space and we signal our intention to receive gifts from spirit. Second, we flex our enchantment muscles and we consult the oracles of astrology and the tarot and other divinatory tools. And third, we welcome young self and we explore all manner of metaphysical and consciousness raising topics. And so tonight we're going to come together and talk about the lunar cycle, and most specifically we're going to talk about the dark moon. And we are going to take a peek at this dynamic astrology of January, and we'll look at the new moon that's coming up this week, and then we'll look at the full moon. And we'll do this and we'll take a spin through all the rising signs. Maybe not all of them, but certainly all the rising signs that are represented here by all of you who are joining us tonight. So let's get started. Let's get started with creating sacred space. And you know how to do that. So perhaps you're already snuggled up next to your altar. But I really encourage you tonight to grab your journal and a pen. And as we go through the rising signs, make some notes, because this is a big month for astrology. And you're going to want to take note of how these beautiful enchanted energies are going to be speaking to you this month. Okay, so let's take a few minutes and gather ourselves and create our altars or get ourselves situated. Take a deep breath. This is your time. This is sacred time. Welcome back. in perfect love and perfect trust, we create sacred space. And we do this, of course, by imagining a blue light encircling ourselves in the physical space we each occupy, but also, as we create the circle, envision the creation of a virtual circle, virtual sacred space that we are all joined in together tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and call the directions and the 4 elements to create our circle. Here we go. By the air that is her breath, welcome east. By the fire of her bright spirit, welcome south. By the waters of her living womb, welcome west. And by the earth that is her body, welcome north. As above, so below, we are in sacred space. Hello there, Enchanted One. So glad you joined us tonight. So let us see who is with us. Make sure that if you're new here especially, say hello in your comments. We want to welcome you to our community. Hello, Miss Erin. And Robin is ready, as usual. Thank you for joining us, Robin. Is Teresa with us tonight, too? Good evening, Janet. And Kathleen. And Anne. And Julie. Welcome, everybody. So we have a lot of astrology to get to tonight, and I have everything all lined up so that we can go through the rising signs quickly. But I do want to offer, share some things with you about the lunar cycle generally, but I really want to talk about the dark moon, because the dark moon, the 3 days before the new moon, is a really special, magical time. And we are in the dark moon right now. The new moon is on Tuesday. So here we go, guys. We're gonna get started right away. A lot of astrology to get to. Okay, let's get started with the lunar cycle. So I mentioned in the very, very opening, she changes everything she touches, and everything she touches changes. And that, of course, is the goddess, as expressed through her changing lunar cycles. And so you see there on the screen the representation of the lunar cycle. And in this illustration, the lunar cycle is divided up with 8 different phases. But you can also think about, you can simplify it a bit and think about it as divided in 2, the waxing moon and the waning moon. Or you can think about it as divided into 4, or quarters, or quadrants, which of course coincides with the seasons. But as I said, tonight is the dark moon. And what do we know about the dark moon? The dark moon is a time of mystery. So it's that liminal space just before rebirth. And it also coincides with the 12th house of astrology. The 12th house being, of course, the last house around the wheel. And astrologers think about it as the ending before the beginning. It also represents the time in the womb before the soul incarnates, as represented by, the first house and the rising sign. So, what do we do during the dark moon? We meet the mystery and we go within and we get quiet and we contemplate the cycle that just ended and the inception of the new cycle. It also reminds me of the card that we pulled last week. If you will remember what we pulled last week, the High Priestess, because she has many things to offer us, only though if we're quiet and we listen, because she speaks to us in the same way that Deep Self speaks to us, right? So the High Priestess truths reside in the heart and soul, and her wisdom is taught through an initiatory experience, that which cannot be explained or studied. It is simply known. Whoops. Okay, so let me back up one more time. The new moon. So after the dark moon, what do you have? You have the new moon. And it's during the new moon that you create the vision. We always talk about using the new moon energies to find an intention. What are you going to build over the lunar cycle? You're going to create a vision. And so then when you get to the full moon, that's the culmination. We know this. And that's when the desire is fulfilled. So let's take a closer look at all of this. And let me just say one quick hello to Lance. Lance, thank you for joining us tonight. I did run your chart and I sent it to you. I hope you received it. You have Virgo rising, so we're definitely going to be talking about and there's much more movement. And I, for one, welcome sort of the movement that and the dynamic nature of Aquarius that we're going to be working with all year. And January just happens to be loaded with a lot of really powerful astrology. It's similar to last year when the Saturn Pluto conjunction was exact in January, in that there's a lot of aspects and things loaded up in the month of January and also February. So hold on to your seats. We've already seen this, right? And you know, the planet Mars moved out of its domicile, meaning its home sign of Aries, where it was for so long. It was there for a long time, like the very end of June, all the way through until the 6th of this month. Okay, and now it's in Taurus. And interesting that on the 6th, you know, when all hell broke loose, that was when Mars moved out from the 29th degree of Capricorn and into Taurus. And yeah, so it was pretty dynamic, right? Okay, I'm just checking in with you guys. Any comments that you want to share about your thoughts about the past week personally? We know what went on with the collective, um, but this is sort of this past week has kind of been a sneak preview in some ways of what we can expect in January and February. I mean, I think we're going to see more of the same. Um, you know, Inauguration Day, there's some powerful astrology going on then too. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is exact. And I know, like, I'm speaking another language to many of you, but I will just say that Jupiter is very expansive. It's about belief systems. And Saturn, you know, is in some ways very opposite to Jupiter, where Jupiter wants to expand, Saturn wants to limit. So, you know, what do you do with those two energies together? Well, one thing you can do is bring form to those big ideas, and to be realistic about Jupiter's what can actually be grandiose ideas and beliefs. So those two things are coming together. They're colliding on January 20th, and that should be interesting. Okay, so now let's look at the full moon chart as well. So this is the full moon chart, and the full moon is going to be on January 28th. And we know that it's a full moon because the sun is in opposition on the to the moon. So that's how she is so illuminated. You know, the moon doesn't have her own light. The light that she has is a reflection of the sun's light. So this full moon is really lighting up that whole dynamic of Saturn and Jupiter together. Again, this is all in Aquarius. And well, actually, the moon is in Leo, the sun is in Aquarius. So we're dealing with that polarity. Leo is, you know, about drama and about leaders, and it's very solar. It's ruled by the sun, and that's the moon in opposition to the sun in Aquarius. Yeah, so now let's take a spin through everybody's rising signs really quickly here. Or maybe not so quickly. So if you're interested in taking a look at your rising sign and how these energies are striking your chart, and that means, you know, how the celestial gods and goddesses are speaking specifically to you. We do it based on rising sign. That way we know, you know, where these dynamic planets and aspects, what areas of life based on the house position are being lit up, basically. So let's just start at the beginning here with Aries. So there we go. So here's Aries rising. Okay, so Now, remember I told you that Mars finally moved out of Aries and now Mars is in Taurus? Well, in Taurus, guess what? It comes together with the planet Uranus, and Uranus is a planet of revolution and change, and enlightenment and breakthroughs. Okay, so if you have Aries rising, then that Mars, together with Uranus, is in your second house of finances and resources. Okay, so that area is highlighted for you. But notice this, guys, that it squares means, and a square means like it's a tense aspect between two planets, and so it's going to create a need for reconciliation between energies, and it's squaring planets, and specifically the new moon here in your 10th house, right? Your 10th house. So the 10th house is the house of career, whatever it is that you do in the outside world, Aries rising. So know that the new moon and really the whole second half of the month moving into the end of the month, those are the themes you're going to be looking at, right? Themes related to your profession, whatever it is you do in the outside world, and also your finances and your resources. And then that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that I talked about is in your 11th house of groups, friends, benefactors, organizations. So that area of your life is also going to be highlighted. Now, by the full moon is going to be on the 11th house, 5th house axis, again, lighting up the 11th house of groups, but also the moon itself is going to be in the 5th house of children, creative pursuits. Ancient astrologers call the 5th house a house of joy. So, you know, it's a good house to have a full moon in. It can bring good fortune, okay? So, you know, that's a nice full moon for Aries rising. What else do we have? Who else do we have? I know that we have some Taurus rising folks here. So let me just see if I can get that to come up here. That's a full moon, go away. All right. Trying to get back to my playlist here. Make sure I'm not using any copyrighted music here. All right, so Taurus rising. I know we got some Taurus risings here. We have Kathleen and we have Anne. Let's take a look at that. Okay, this is a big switch for you guys with that Mars. Remember, we talked for months about how Mars was going through your 12th house. Like the dark moon, you know, like Mars going through the 12th house is similar to the dark moon energies, you know, the total ending before the beginning. Not really an easy trek for Mars through there. But guess what? Now Mars is going through your first house. That's all about like you, like being who you are and expressing your individuality and all the things that you know, want to strike out with and be an individual about. Okay, and it's together there with Uranus, which is the same kind of energy. You know, Uranus is a rebel and really wants to, you know, march to the beat of their own drum. So it could be a really good time for, you know, for letting the world know, you know, that this is the new you in many respects. But one thing I will tell you that is the first house is also symbolizes the body, literally the body. Okay, so be aware that you can be a bit accident prone with this configuration. So, you know, don't go skydiving. you know, you curb your enthusiasm when it comes to really, putting your foot down sometimes, and um, just declaring your way, that you're gonna be who you are come hell or high water, because there can be some repercussions for that. So just be aware. I mean, it's a very potent energy and it needs to be respected. Okay. um and again, there is an element of being accident prone, so just be careful. No aggressive driving or anything like that. Not advised during this time. And so the new moon for Aries rising, for Taurus rising, is in your ninth house. And the ninth house is belief systems and spirituality and religion and foreign travel and foreigners and all of that kind of stuff. That Saturn Jupiter conjunction is in your 10th house of career. Okay. So I'm getting all kinds of texts and whatnot here. I don't know if you can hear them. But just make sure I'm not muted. Maybe sometimes people text me when I'm muted. Let me know. Anyway, it's a pretty dynamic month for you Taurus rising folks. Particularly, if you are still in the workplace, and even if you're not, it's just what you're doing in the outside world. It can be sort of like your reputation as well. So those are the areas that are the focus for certainly this month, particularly starting with the new moon and then rolling into the end of the month. Now let's take a look at the full moon, Taurus rising. There we go. So that full moon is going to be on that 10th fourth house axis. So again, that's career, what you're doing outside in the world. But the fourth house, as we know, is the foundation. So that means it's the home, it's real estate, it's family, it's fathers, signifies fathers. So we're going to pull in the fourth house into what is being lit up this month for you. So Anne, it doesn't have to be an accident, okay? I'm just saying, just be aware that, Mars together with Uranus can bring unexpected things. Mars is a planet of action. Uranus is things that are unexpected. It's like the warrior is out there, wanting to assert its will. But with Uranus in the mix, things may not always turn out the way that you expect. Okay. And I will say that, this is the energy that was brought to fore last Tuesday. Okay. So that's, sort of the shadow side, certainly. But it's very rebellious energy. Okay. So, maybe all of us actually with this Mars Uranus, depending on where it is in our chart, a little humility for all of us this month is probably a good idea. Okay. All right. I don't think we have any Gemini risings, do we? Gemini rising, if you're here, speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, we're just going to move on. Cancer rising, same thing. I don't believe I have any Cancer risings. All right. So that brings us to Leo rising. I know we got some Leo risings. Okay, beautiful Leo rising. All right, so this new moon is in your house of work and toil. Ancient astrologers called it the house of misfortune. But it doesn't have to be the house of misfortune. It is definitely a house of, work, and it can also be the house of health. So be aware that there may be some new revelations or situations related to health with the new moon in your 6th house. Also, it's together with Pluto remember, this new moon is also together with Pluto, which again is an intense energy that has to do with the use of our will and power. Okay, so I would say the work environment, you know, be aware that there may be some power issues that come up in the work environment. And then that Mars Uranus is in your 10th house, Leo rising. Okay, so I would say that this is sort of like you know, this is the Enchanted Universe's way of putting you on notice, just to be aware of some pretty powerful energies in the workplace, because your house of career is lit up, and so is your work environment house lit up. And again, if you're not working, it has to do with what you're doing in the outside world. All right, so let's look at the full moon then for Leo rising. Oh, okay, so this full moon is going to be in your first house. Okay, we talked about this a little bit already. The first house being, you know, who you are, your personality, like how you're going to assert yourself, and make a claim for who you are, Leo rising. Again, it's also the physical body. So that combined with the 6th house energies of the new moon, which relate to health, take care of your body. You know, don't overextend yourselves. And then that Jupiter Saturn stuff is in your 7th house. Okay, so what is that? That's a house of relationship. Okay, so, you know, we can be have grand ideas, or we can be grandiose about these 7th house matters. You know, maybe we'll connect with somebody that we really feel connected with in terms of our belief systems, right? But with Saturn there, you got to combine that energy where Saturn wants you to be wise, and, you know, wants to in some ways put the brakes on Jupiter. In either case, I would say that, you know, it's definitely a focus here, the 7th house energies, relationships, particularly, you know, after you get through the middle of the month and towards the end of the month. And then Jupiter Saturn is going to hang out there in your 7th house pretty much the whole year. Okay, sometimes more intensely than other times you'll feel these Jupiter Saturn energies, but relationships definitely a focus for you in 2021, kicked off by this full moon. Okay, Leo rising, that is you. And you guys have any specific questions or any observations where you're feeling these energies already, just go ahead and pop them in the chat. Okay, so Virgo rising, that would be you, Lance. Lance, if you're still with me, let me know. I'll just go through Virgo rising anyway. Let's say goodbye to Leo. There we go. Virgo rising. Here we have Virgo rising. So this means the new moon is in your 5th house of creativity and children and all things that bring you pleasure. Okay, but again, remember, it's combined with that intensity of Pluto, okay, and this whole issue of power. And so be aware of that, right? No going out to the racetrack or the casino. I don't guess anybody's doing much of that these days, but I would say it's probably not a good time to do something speculative. Maybe an interesting time to spend with your children if you have children, or you could get really find that you have a lot of energy for whatever it is that you're doing creatively. That Jupiter Saturn is going to be hanging out in your 6th house of work and toil, so you may have some really big ideas and you know, some big visions for the work that you want to do, and Saturn with Jupiter together can help you channel that, right? Because Saturn's going to make you work hard, Jupiter is going to give you the big ideas, so the two of them together can be a nice combination, right? Just be aware that there may be times when you feel a little bit overwhelmed with that push and pull. All right, so what about, let's look, Virgo, at the full moon. Okay, so the full moon, the moon then is in your 12th house. Okay, so we talked about the 12th house being very much like the dark moon. This is like that liminal space before birth. Um, so you may find by the end of the month that you're feeling much more introspective, and you know, things in the 12th house are hidden from us. Okay, our shadow lives in the 12th house. Um, it's things that are not illuminated, right? So just be aware of that. You know, towards the end of the month, you may be feeling much more like the hermit in the tarot. You know, you want to see what's beneath the surface, but you don't necessarily want to be out socializing. So there you go, Virgo. Now, let's see, who have I missed so far? We need to talk about Pisces rising and Aquarius. No, you're Pisces rising, Janet. And so is Rob, but I don't know if Rob has joined us yet. Yes, Janet. Okay, so we're going to say goodbye to Virgo rising. And we are going to talk about Pisces. Here we go. All right, so here's the Pisces rising. Okay, so first thing, you know, that Mars, Pisces rising, has been hanging out in your second house of finance. Thank goodness Mars is out of there. I don't know, maybe Mars going through your second house was a good thing. You know, the ancients called Mars in ancient astrology is what's called a malefic. So Mars and Saturn together, they're both malefics in ancient astrology. So a lot of times what they bring to us may not be welcome, depending on what else is going on specifically in your individual chart. But now Mars is no longer in Aries, and it's in Taurus, and it's not going to be in Taurus nearly as long as it was in Aries. We talked about that, how it was in Aries for a really long time because it retrograded, moved forward, moved backward. But it's going to take a spin through your third house. And what is your third house? Your third house is just it's teaching and learning, and just sort of like day-to-day processes. It's, you know, you commuting and getting to and fro. So with Mars together with Uranus, that accident-prone aspect that I was talking about with the Taurus rising, this is in your third house, which is a house of transportation. Okay, so no road rage, no aggressive driving, right? It's literally in the house of transportation. Okay, so just be aware of that, Pisces rising. And so, but the new moon is in your house of groups and organizations and friends and even hopes and dreams. So yeah, that's kind of a nice energy, you know, to be thinking about perhaps setting an intention, you know, around those themes. Certainly, you know, the enchanted universe is lighting up those areas of your life right now. And then that Jupiter Saturn stuff, that's in your 12th house. Again, the 12th house, you know, this similar to the dark moon, in that liminal space, you know, before you emerge into the first house. So that's the house where the shadows reside, and that's the unconscious. And, you know, the way to move with those energies is, you know, to call on the high priestess and to connect with the deep self, and, you know, allow those messages to come through that can only really reach us during those quiet, introspective times. So there is this tension, guys, for all of us, because through much of the month, that Mars-Uranus together is squaring, you know, those Aquarius planets, that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, and even this new moon. So there is this tension here where Mars and Uranus is going to just keep agitating you know, those ideas of belief systems up against the status quo. And again, we see this in the collective, and we're going to see it the rest of the month. You know, it's going to get, you know, the last week was last week, and we all know what happened last week. And, you know, I have to say, like, you know, the 20th, the date, inauguration day, is probably going to look different. You know, it's not going to be a kumbaya moment that some folks are looking for. I don't believe it's going to be that. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. Who knows? But the Enchanted Universe is sort of, you know, pointing in the direction of, you know, some more unexpected breakthrough type energies. So hold on to your seats, guys. So you're thinking of getting a new car, Janet. Well, I would say about that, not to allow that to be an impulsive decision, which could be one manifestation of Mars Uranus. On the other hand, like, some opportunity could just come out of nowhere. I don't know if that makes any sense. Well, you know, whatever you do, like, you know, if it's like a beautiful opportunity that comes out of nowhere and it seems sound, and that it's a win-win for you, then that's the gift of it, right? On the other hand, you know, if you're just bound and determined to buy a car this month no matter what, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm not sure what you mean here, Robin. Oops, you did that. So Robin, you have Libra rising, and we're going to talk about Libra rising. And Aaron, we're going to talk about Scorpio rising. Okay, so let's do that now. All right, let's talk about... Let's go to Libra rising. Okay, Robin, this is you and me, Robin. Okay, Libra rising. Okay, so this new moon is in our 4th house, the house of family, home, foundation, real estate, fathers. Okay, so that is the focus here. And again, you know, there could be some issues related to power struggles, you know, related to family and home and real estate and just our roots and foundation and ancestry even. Also, you know, Pluto asks us to do some deep transformative soul searching as well. So there you go. Now that Jupiter Saturn is going to be in our 5th house, like, for the better part of the year, right? And it's still going to be exact, like I said, on the 20th. This is a house of children. This is a house of creativity. This is the house of pleasure and you know, what we do to seek pleasure. So 5th house and creativity. So just thinking about me personally, for example, you know, I have a tendency to, like, have big ideas and big visions and, like, wonderful creative, you know, projects I want to just jump on and pursue. But Jupiter with Saturn is going to say, well, okay, that's fine, but, you know, Saturn is like, well, you know, you can't do everything, Brenda, Robin, you can't do it all, right? So, you know, you need to add a little bit of that discernment that Saturn brings, a little bit of that wisdom and practicality that Saturn brings. So, you know, if we can combine those two, you know, those big inspired ideas with Saturn to bring those to form, then we're golden, right? Okay, now, so this Mars Uranus is up there in our 8th house, and the 8th house is the opposite of the 2nd, in that where the 2nd house is our money, our resources, the 8th house is the resources of others, or money that comes to us not of our own making, right? So like inheritances. Um, it's also debts paid, debts owed, debts paid. Maybe, you know, um, we get a loan, or maybe a loan is due, or maybe somebody owes us money and they finally, come through with it. Um, maybe there's an insurance check that comes in the mail that you've been waiting for, that kind of thing. But it could be, with Mars and Uranus, it's going to be unexpected, probably. There will be an element of surprise, or, yeah, or just, you know, not according to plan, is what I want to say about that. Okay, so who else we got here? We have, I know I'm missing somebody, Scorpio rising. Oh, I didn't do the full moon for Libra. Here we go. Full moon Libra rising. Okay, so this is lighting up our 5th and our 11th house. Again, children, creative projects. But the moon itself is going to be in the house of groups, organization, friends, hopes and dreams, benefactors. So, what type of organization are we involved in? What groups are we involved in? By the 28th, by the end of the month, there should be something coming to fruition regarding that. And it's in Leo. So this is moon in Leo, which is very different than moon in Capricorn. Okay. So, you might find that within these groups, you have some kind of, you're on some type of a stage, right? That maybe you're going to be a little bit dramatic in this realm. I know, for example, that I am slated to be on the podium on the 31st. So, I can already see that that's, the full moon is going to, that's going to be one expression of the full moon in the 11th house for me. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say about Libra. Now we need to get to Scorpio and talk about Miss Erin's rising sign, and anybody else, any other Scorpios might be hanging out there lurking. Okay, Scorpio rising, Miss Erin. Oh my goodness. Okay. So that Mars is finally out of your 6th house now. And it is in your 7th house of relationship. So, with Uranus, right? So there could just be some unexpected turn of events regarding relationships for you. Unexpected turn of events. Or maybe you'll just meet someone who's a little left of plumb. Someone who's eccentric even. Somebody who's a bit of a rebel. I don't know. But, yeah, that's kind of exciting, actually, I think. I don't know. Maybe you got something in the works there. That's the new moon. So that's coming up this week. So guys, when I'm talking about all of these energies and you're thinking about the new moon and setting intentions, if you've made a note of these things in your journal, when you sit down and you do your intentions, just be aware of the areas that we talked about that are highlighted for each of us, right? When doing the intentions. And in that way, folks, we're working with the enchanted universe, right? Okay, so then that new moon falls in your 3rd house of communication, right? Travel. And so what I would say about that, because it's hanging out down there with Pluto, is just be aware of the power of what it is that you're communicating, the power of your speech and your ideas. Yeah, so it's a good way to be able to, speak your mind and let folks know of your will regarding certain matters. But, just take care not to be overbearing. Again, humility is a good buzzword for all of us this month. And then that Jupiter Saturn is in your fourth house, house of home and family. And again, that's going to be with you throughout the year, right? So I would expect some themes related to home, family, fathers, ancestry, the past, your foundation, maybe you're moving, or, some kind of a situation with where you actually live could be highlighted. Again, Jupiter, Saturn, they move slowly, so that's going to be the whole year for you. Okay, let's look then, Scorpio rising, Aaron, at the full moon for you. There we go. Okay, so the full moon then is, again, this is going to focus on your fourth house. The fourth 10th house axis. Now the moon is up in the 10th, so if you're working, we're talking about your quote career or your reputation or what it is you do out in the world. So that's an angular house. 1, 4, 7, and 10 are angular houses. So any planets in angular houses really speak to a lot of activity and focus during this particular time. And you've got this full moon on that 4th 10th house axis, and then you've got Mars and Uranus for some time. Uranus for quite some time, because it moves super slow, in your 7th house of relationships. So 2021, it's going to be an active year for you regarding relationship. And then this full moon is specifically going to highlight 4th and 10th house issues for you. And then Jupiter and Saturn is just going to be in your 4th, as I said, throughout 2021. Okay, did we get everybody? Okay. Okay, so that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Aaron. You're starting a new career path and school. Okay. All right. Well, the 3rd house is learning. It's not necessarily like higher education, but it's just learning generally. It would be more like a trade type of learning versus advanced higher learning. But regardless, yes, a very active year. And trying to move again. Okay. You guys ready to move on to some tarot? Do you remember her? Here's what I think, guys. I think that we should continue to work with the High Priestess during these next couple days before the new moon. Because like I said, we're in the dark moon phase right now. And the dark moon, I wanted to read to you a list here if I can find it, of dark moon phase periods in our lives. So the dark moon, when we talk about it in terms of the lunar cycle, the dark moon is the 3 days before the new moon. But there are also dark moon periods in our life. And so in this book that I have, by Demetra George, here are dark moon phase periods. And this will give you some understanding of this whole notion of the dark moon and how it's like a liminal space. So dark moon phase periods include every night in the last hours before waking, every few days when the moon goes void of course, every month when women menstruate, every month in the 3.5 days of the balsamic moon phase just before the new moon, which is what we're talking about now, every year in the month before our birthday, every year when the sun passes through the 12th house of our birth chart for a month, every year during the shortest daylight hours in the time before the winter solstice, right? Because we know the winter solstice is actually the turn from, that's when the light first starts to grow, right? That's the return of the light is the winter solstice. So then the dark moon period in terms of seasons is, just before the winter solstice. Every 28 years when our progress moon passes through our 12th house for 2.5 years. During all 12th house transits, especially by the outer planets, during eclipses, and then so she goes on to list some astrological correlations to dark moon, and then also the final days, weeks, months, or years before physical death. And she says, we have been conditioned by our lack of night vision to feel lost, confused, and frightened when we pass through many dark moon times in our lives. And she says, we encourage you to learn to recognize these times and to begin to use the special qualities available during the dark closure phase of any cycle to heal, transform, and empower yourself and others. Okay, so that's why I suggest, let's hang out with the High Priestess these last couple of days, okay? And it's interesting that we pulled her last week, but now it's time to pull a new card. And so let's think about this card being for this card is going to move us through the month of January, beginning at the new moon, which is going to be on the 13th, on Wednesday. I was thinking it was Tuesday, but actually here on the East Coast, it's going to be on Wednesday. Yeah, 12:10 a.m. actually. Right. Yeah, so just after midnight on Tuesday. All right, so you guys ready to pull a card? Oh, but before I do that, did anybody have a visit from the High Priestess over this past week? I'd like to hear. That's cool, Aaron. Medical assistant. Well, I think you'll enjoy that. You guys ready to pull a card? I have it on my altar here. Let me go get them and I'll shuffle them as we talk. Okay, I just have the majors here. I pulled them out before we got started tonight. So again, we're going to work with the High Priestess for another couple days. Okay, we're going to commune with the High Priestess. We're going to take advantage of these dark moon energies. We're going to go inside. We're going to listen to Deep Self. And then when we're ready to set our intention at the new moon in Capricorn, that's bringing us the wisdom of everything that we learned over the past year. All right, you guys thinking about this card? We got to do it all together here. And again, this card is going to take us from the new moon through the end of January. It's going to get us through this crazy month. Okay, I'm going to skip over to the altar real quick and pull the card. Let me see. No. Trying to get you a shot of me pulling the card here. There we go. All right. Okay. You guys gonna guess? You gonna guess what it is? Guess which card I pulled. Any guesses? Put them in the chat. Just working with this big old Facebook delay and this little old YouTube delay. Who's got a guess for me what card I pulled? It's just the majors, okay? What's my guess? My guess is Temperance. So, and the Knight is a court card, so I'm only pulling from the majors, the major arcana. Okay, so Aaron's guess is Hermit or Death. Okay, either the Hermit card or the Death card. Any more guesses before I reveal, before the big reveal? Okay, Chariot, right? Moving forward. There you go. Okay, so we have 3 guesses. Well, Aaron got 2 guesses. She got Hermit or Death. Anne says Chariot. I'm thinking Temperance. Any other guesses? Come on now, use your intuition, guys. All right. I'm going to show you. You ready? Oh, look what this is. Aaron guessed right. The Hermit. I think of the Hermit as the way shower. I love this card. I love this card. Okay, let me see if I can get the Hermit up on the screen here. Here he is. The hermit. Okay, so what do you guys see with this hermit? Well, we know what the word hermit means, like one who, spends time alone, a hermit. But this hermit, he's basically, looks like he's on the top of a mountain, a snow-capped mountain. And what is he doing? He's holding up the lantern, the light of illumination, and he's kind of looking down over the landscape. That's why I like to think of him as the way shower. I'm gonna get my phone and read Barbara Moore's interpretation of the hermit. In the meantime, guys, give me a keyword for the hermit. Aaron says, I just feel like after everything going on, it's almost a feeling or a time of being with self in order to go forward. Yeah. It's almost like they're partners, isn't it? The hermit and the high priestess. Okay. Anybody got any keywords for the hermit for me? For all of us? Okay, so Barbara Moore, the author of Steampunk Tarot, who we all know and love, says the core meaning for the hermit is retreating from distractions to determine your own truth. When the hermit visits you, he heralds a time of solitude. More solitude. They want us to like be in solitude while all hell breaks loose out in the world, right? There are times when it is worth seeking out the opinions of others, but this is not one of them. There are times when you need to ignore those opinions and decide for yourself what is right and true. In the quiet and in the dark, you will be able to see your answers shining brightly. Once you see it, hold it high and be guided by it. Well, it seems like the hermit is speaking to the theme of tonight's stream, the dark moon. Well, there you go. There you go. So, that's the hermit. The hermit wants us to be quiet and to listen to deep self throughout the month of January. And so, that's interesting how we move from the high priestess to the hermit during this pivotal month. Oh, okay. So, yes. So, welcome, Dee. We did go over Virgo rising. I hope that you caught it. Um, and now we know we're going to work with the Hermit through the rest of the month. I wanted to, we're about ready to finish up, guys. But before we do, I wanted to remind you, if you haven't already, please, even if you watch on Facebook, if you would go on YouTube, Spirit Throw Me a Bone on YouTube, and subscribe and like this stream. And so, yeah, if you're already a subscriber on YouTube, let me know in the comments. I want to know who's supporting Spirit Throw Me a Bone on YouTube. I know you guys are, most of you guys are Facebook folks, but you know, if you could just go over to YouTube, even if you prefer to watch on Facebook, and then subscribe and then like this or any of the videos. You know, you can always catch the replays there as well. Okay, so I got a couple of announcements. Got a couple of announcements. One is personal, and the other one is um, just for the community generally. So the personal announcement is that I am going to return to Colombia and do another ayahuasca retreat in the beginning of February. So I'm excited about that. Um, I really, I really think that the plant medicine has a lot to offer me, um, and I'm interested in going back this time and going deeper than I was prepared to do the first time around. Um, so that's my prayer for my Columbia adventure number 2, is that I can go deeper and further develop my relationship with Yahe, also known as ayahuasca or grandmother. And of course, I'll let you guys know how that goes. Um, I'll talk more about sort of what my plans are for those 2 Sunday streams. It may be that that I do a, you know, like a pre-recorded video for you guys that's called a premiere, where it's available, you know, during my regular stream time, and you guys can watch it. It almost appears that it's a live stream, but it's not. But the difference between a premiere and just releasing a video is that when it's released, you guys can watch together basically and interact as you're watching it. So that's one option. And yes. Yeah, so you guys have some thoughts about me going back to Colombia. Well, if I can tap into your star people. Well, that was one thing that I did think about doing. You know, because I had a star origins reading that said that I'm dolphin. So you know, I actually have a playlist of like journey music, you know, and some of it is like dolphin sounds. So I may be playing that when I'm journeying. I don't know. But I could certainly set that intention to connect with the water world. Yeah, so Janet is a subscriber on YouTube, and so is Robin. Yeah, I know, Robin, you like to join from YouTube, and I appreciate that. Yeah, so I really feel like the plant medicine for me personally allows me access to the enchanted universe. You know, I've never really been a very prolific meditator, you know, and I actually felt originally that it was kind of a shortcut to do ayahuasca to access deep self, but I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like, you know, the Great Spirit put these medicines on the earth for a reason, and when they're used with respect and reverence, then that's a good thing, and that's what they're there for. So, for healing, they don't call it medicine for nothing. Okay. Okay, and so you ready for the second announcement? So the second announcement is that I have connected again with Daniel Greenberg, aka Drum Daniel. And as some of you may know, for about a year, he and I partnered together for the Sacred Fusion Drum Circle that we did once a month at Rise Center for Wellbeing, which is no longer because it closed because of COVID. Um, but so we're talking about how to bring drumming and some type of a drum circle type experience to Spirit Throw Me a Bone. So we just gotta, talk about that and like work out the tech stuff. But I know it can be done, and I'm excited about doing it. So, what my thought is now is that once a month we would do some type of a drum circle type stream. Just like once a month we do an interview, and once a month we do Carmen cocktails. So this would be, another sort of featured stream monthly. So if you guys are up for that type of a stream, like kind of a virtual drum circle type gig here on Spirit Throw Me a Bone, say yay drums, or just let me know in the chat right now if that sounds like something that you're interested in. We can't like have a real drum circle because of the delay, you know, but you guys could have your drums at home and you could follow along. And yeah, so I'm excited about that. That's like sort of my Jupiter Saturn creative vision that I've come up with over the past week or so. And like I said, Daniel and I are going to sort of suss it out and figure out how to make that work. But I think you can pretty much count on it that we're going to do that. So you like that idea, Janet? Okay, guys. So, um, thank you for joining me tonight. I'm looking at the clock. It just amazes me how fast this time goes by every time I stream. Drumming, yes! Yay! Yay! I know. I just love drumming. I've neglected my drum over the last several months. Yay, drums. Okay, all right. So you guys are behind this idea. I thought you would be. I thought you would be. Okay, so I just want to say one thing about what's going to come up between now and the other thing is we're going to have Maddie back. Is next week the 17th? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to have Maddie back next week, and we're going to talk about cults. Right? I promised you guys that. And Maddie, she's all in. She loves coming on the Spirit Throw Me Bone. And I think, this topic of cults is really prescient at this moment for us as spiritual seekers, but also, what is going on out in the world, right? I don't want to say anything more about that. We can talk about that more next week. But yay, Maddie next week, right? Thumbs up, Maddie next week. And then, of course, we'll have Carmen cocktails after that. There's 5 Sundays this month, right? So interesting. An extra week there to bring you guys some really fun and interesting content on Spirit Throw Me Bone. Get surround sound and a woofer, or you have surround sound and a woofer. Okay, guys. This is what I wanted to say about between now and next week, right? I mean, now and the end of the month, and all the craziness that just might come about over the next couple weeks. There's a prayer that I'd like to share with you, and I'm going to sing it. So, here goes. Here it is. Please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. So that's my prayer for the coming month. And my prayer for all of you and all of us, and that we all can hold the light. So we need to open the circle, guys.
Well, here we go, around again, and back we've come, still here I am. This is non-random, tandem orbit, we're forever kin, right here with you.
So we created sacred space, and now we need to remove the circle. And we're going to do that by going in the opposite direction that we went in.
I am your
Created
friend.
the circle.
You are
By the earth that is her body.
and most precious stellar
Thank you,
partner,
North.
dancing love's geometry with
By the waters of her living womb. Thank you, West. By the fire of her right spirit.
you go.
Thank you, South.
I'm right here with you. Everywhere.
And by the air that is her breath.
I'm right here with you. In case you need it.
As above, so below.
I'm right here with you.
The circle is open.
We're like the stars in the sky. They are made of light and just like.
So thank you again for joining me tonight, guys. Have a beautiful, wonderful week. Spend the next couple days with the High Priestess, and then welcome in the Hermit. And refer to your notes if you took them about, the astrology that the Enchanted Universe is presenting to you this month and throughout the year, really. So until next week, same enchanted time and same enchanted channel. Be well, be true, be sacred, be you.
From the start, to help extract the poison from our medicine hearts. Oh, I just wanna thank you for doing your part. I promise you that I'll always do mine. So in all our emotion, we've made a web, our patterns woven, we're common threads. There is nothing you could do to shake me loose. I've got you, I'm not leaving. So go climb your mountain and know your name. The call you answer springs from the same flame I do. And as you take your leap, just know they fall, they fly into the deep. I'm right here with you. Everywhere you go, I'm right here with you. Everywhere you go, I'm right here with you. In case you needed to know if I was here, I'm right here with you. We're like the stars in the sky. They are made of light, and just like you and I, they are closely tied. We're of the same constellation. That's how we make it through the night. I'm right here with you. Everywhere you go, I'm right here with you. Everywhere you go, I'm right here with you. In case you need